Howdy, howdy. My name is Clayton Cathmer and welcome to Mission for More. In this video, I want to share with you the secret that nature has of change and maybe something that we could learn about it. Recently, I took my family on a little road trip to go see the change of seasons. Living in the Southwest, there's really not a whole bunch of opportunity to see the reds, the yellows, the oranges, as typically saguaros don't have anything other than green and they don't do anything special in the fall. But it's something that I have always found an experience that has been so grounding for me, and I wanted to share that with my family. So when we got up to our little hiking trail that kind of showcased a change of seasons, it instantly made me realize how precious it is to witness such a beautiful display of nature. It's one of my favorite times a year to be able to witness that, and it's well worth the travel to go see it for me. I had an opportunity that I was able to sit my children down on a log and just kind of chat with them about change. In all of the scenery around us, it was the perfect setting to talk about all the things that are going on in our lives that are changing. A perfect place to find home for me at least. And as we're walking back to the car, I couldn't help but to think about all of the things that, yes, that we are implementing in our lives and all of the changes that we want to make. But on the flip side, I started to think, what about the changes that we don't want to make, that we know we need to make? Because those are really where the tire meets the asphalt. And it's not an easy conversation, right? There's so much of it that comes with so much resistance. And for me, I was just overwhelmed with the idea of creating this video specifically on that subject. Being in all of those trees, something that really hit home for me was the fact that change is completely natural. It's part of life. And we know that, right? All of us know that change is part of life, but there's something magical about the way that nature does it. And I think that that's really the life hack that all of us should and could do. It's just to let it go, to just embrace it, to just kind of be a lot more fluid with the change, and that it's totally okay. It's crazy because we fight it so bad, and we constantly look for justifications of why we don't need to do this and why we don't need to do that when we know it would be best for us. But nature doesn't question it. Nature just sheds its leaves and it makes room for new growth. And change is really not that complicated if you really think about it. My daughter gave me a great learning example, and it's funny because the heart of kids are just so honest and true and brutal sometimes. But I've been playing a lot of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and it's inspired me to rewatch the Dragon Ball Z series. And they're at that age where it's cool and they haven't seen it before, and it is like one of the most magical experiences to be able to relive the Namek saga in the eyes of your kids. And we just got to the point where Goku is training like under 100 times gravity in the Capsule Corp spaceship on his way to planet Namek. And he's just jacked. I mean, he is jacked. And my daughter says, "Dad, Goku is so buff." And I said, "Yeah, he is. He's been working hard and training a lot." And my daughter, of course, said, "Well, Dad, how come you don't look like that?" To which I responded, "Well, that takes a lot of work and a lot of training, and it's really hard." And her response was priceless. It made me chuckle. She just said, "Then go to work." And she's right. Like, that's all that it takes, is to just go to work. And I don't want to sound like Shia LaBeouf here, right? Just do it. Like, I don't want to sound like Shy. But there is absolutely something to be said that we complicate it a lot. That the change in our lives doesn't have to be that crazy. It doesn't have to be the demon in the closet that we think about, right? Like, we think, I can't have a conversation with that person. They're going to hate me forever for the boundaries I drew. Or I can't go to the gym. Like, it's going to be hard and I'm going to be all sweaty, and who's going to do this and I can't do that, and I need all of the supplements, and like, we add all the complexity when in reality it's just embracing it and doing it. So how can we change? How can we just so easily let it go, right? Like, that's easier said than done in a lot of cases. And to me, of course, the answer could easily just be just do it. But I think really, in order to practically implement change in our lives, we really have to identify what we want, what we truly, truly want to change. I think that conversation really is, if I could change anything in my life right now, what would it be? What would I change? And when we can identify that one thing, not 100 things, but that one thing. Is it getting a new job? Is it getting into a relationship? Is it having that honest conversation with someone? Is it getting healthier? Is it cleaning your room? Like, what is it? Like, what would be the biggest impact in your life right now? And if you can identify that, that's the keys to the kingdom. That it really is. Because that's your home base. Now you know what you want and what you need to improve on. And once you have that, now it's time to put it into little bite-sized pieces to where you know that you're making progress every single day and you can do it effortlessly. There's nothing that says that if you were wanting to get into shape that you need to work out in 100 times gravity. That's not true, and Goku didn't start out there either, right? So what is that one thing that you can do that is so effortless that you can do it in the morning, that you could do it in the evening, or whatever it is that you could absolutely implement tomorrow? So on the habitual side, maybe it's something as simple as, when I wake up, I'm gonna go for a 2-minute walk. 2 minutes. You could do that, right? That would be nothing. That would be, of course I can go walk for 2 minutes. Of course I could. But what will happen is you'll go that 2-minute walk, and it will turn into 5, and it will turn into 10, and it will turn into 1, and it'll turn into 0. But the next day you'll turn it into 15, and then it'll go back down to 2. You see what I mean? Like, the path of progress is so easy now that over time it just becomes a second nature. And maybe it's for the action steps. Maybe it's not a habitual thing. Maybe it's that life-changing event that needs to happen. And for that, I say, you just need to work on something. Maybe it's that book you've always wanted to write, or it's that job application you need to fill out. Maybe it's that email you need to write. But instead of like putting all that weight for one day, what can you do tomorrow, the next day after that, that you're incrementally making strides? Maybe it's just writing one sentence or a paragraph, or maybe it's just opening up the document every day and staring at it for 30 minutes until you got your ideas come to you. Like, but you have to be able to just take that first step. I think about it in my life and some changes that I'm trying to make that are not easy. And this YouTube channel is one of them. This is something that has been on the radar for years and years and years that I have actively put off. And to me, being in those trees really just hit it home that change is good. Change is not always this bad thing. Like, it's something that's guaranteed in this life, and we can either embrace it or we can overcomplicate it and eventually change in some way over time with a very negative experience. Now, I am by far not a black belt in this area, but I have made a handful of hard changes in my life that has impacted me in such a positive way and has elevated my life experiences so much more than it used to be. It's my hope that I inspire you to make a change in your life, something that you've been putting off for a long time. And the one thing I can promise you is one day, if you can make this change that is just bringing you down, one day you will look back and you will not regret making that change. If it's truly what you wanted, I can promise you that you will not look back and say, I wish I would have never made that change. Because if it is actually truly what you want in your heart, your life will become more intentional again and you will have more vibrancy. Now, so please, friends, if this type of content resonates with you, join me on the walk to the good life and consider subscribing. I hope to see you in the next video, and thank you once again.